There are always teams in the NFL that go from worst to first, and the Bears did that this season in the NFC North. First division title since 2018, first postseason win in 15 years under first-year head coach Ben Johnson and top overall pick Caleb Williams. Lions went from last year's 1 seed to not making it back this season. All right, let's continue our free agent priority list with Douz. We're going NFC North style. We've got to talk about the Chicago Bears. Some encouraging signs. Don't want to get too crazy given what happened to Washington last year, certainly, but offense was looking good. You got the cardiac Bears winning those late games thanks to Caleb Williams. Defensively, still some issues to fill here, and how do we fill that?
And we talked about it earlier, Tommy. They've really struggled to consistently get after the quarterback. If you're not Montez Sweat, other guys weren't getting after the quarterback. So I have them taking the wily vet Trey Hendrickson, who struggled with some injuries last year, had core muscle surgery. But if you go back to 2 years before that, 17 sacks, 17 sacks. And for the longest, Montez Sweat has needed a partner on the other side. He's needed a partner to take some of the pressure off of him. Well, this guy right here, Tommy, he can get after the quarterback. And because he dealt with some injuries, maybe Chicago could get him on a 1 or 2 year deal and would not have to do a 3 or 4 year deal. So I think that could bode well for the Chicago Bears. They needed somebody opposite of Montez Sweat. I also could look at the secondary here as well, but I went edge because I feel like that's going to help the secondary. 3 of their starting 5 guys are going to be free agents in that secondary for the Chicago Bears. So if you're going to bring in some new players or young players via the draft, the way to help them is to have an effective pass rush, and that's what Trey Hendrickson can provide for you.
Our CBS Sports staff has him as the number 2 ranked free agent behind George Pickens. Niners, Chargers, and Cowboys, they could obviously use his services, but just what does having that 1-2 punch? I always think of the Texans with Hunter and Will Anderson. How does that help, like, the linebacker level, the secondary level, when you're able to have that 1-2 punch?
It helps everything because as a quarterback, when you get to the top of your drop, you know you have to step up. So now as a defensive tackle rushing with those 2 edge guys, I know I don't have to push the pocket as hard because the quarterback is going to step right into my lap because I know if he gets to the top of that drop and he drifts back, those 2 guys are going to sack him. So the Bears have not had that with Montez Sweat. Like, he's been getting doubled and triple teamed. They haven't had a guy that can consistently get 8 to 10 sacks. We talked about what Trey Hendrickson has done over his career. If you go back before last year, back-to-back 17-sack seasons. This is a guy that can consistently win with his hands and get off and affect the quarterback.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to shore that up and run it back, which we've seen the NFC North has certainly been tough over the last handful of years, having quality teams like the Packers, who have Jordan Love. We just talked about Malik Willis, by the way, with Jordan Love missing some time and Willis coming in here. But when you look at Green Bay, back-to-back postseason runs, although not really deep runs to get Mike LaFleur over the hump here. How do they try to get over the hump here in 26?
So we saw this defense take off with the addition of Micah Parsons. But when he went down, the defense really struggled. And more specifically, the cornerback position was very inconsistent. Now, Kashawn Nixon is a guy that they signed him to an extension 2 years ago. But he's more of a slot guy that can maybe play outside, right? I added Alontae Taylor because Jonathan Gannon is coming over. And if you know anything about his defense, he likes versatile guys that are tough. He likes to send slot corner blitzes. I don't know if there's a better slot corner blitzer than this guy right here, Alontae Taylor, who has the versatility to play on the inside and the outside. They signed Nate Hobbs, really hasn't worked out so far early in that contract that they gave him this last year. I think adding a guy like Alontae Taylor really shores up that secondary because who knows if Micah Parsons is going to be ready to start the season next year. You're going to have to really lean on that secondary. I think Alontae Taylor provides some much-needed juice in that secondary.
Yeah, you brought up Jonathan Gannon. I think I said Mike LaFleur. I meant Matt LaFleur. There's a whole triangle, of course, of all the things that happened. Matt, who's been there before with several NFC Championship game appearances up until recently here. The Micah Parsons deal / injury. They went all in. They tried to have a Super Bowl year like our Pete Prisco thought they would. How much does that complicate their offseason and draft this year?
Yeah, so when you look at it, not having him potentially for the beginning of the year, it begs some question marks as far as are they going to get off to a fast start, right? Because they really struggled in the back half of the season. I will say this, though, Tommy. If not for some faux pas, they probably beat the Chicago Bears because remember, they had a significant lead in that game, and they essentially gave that game back to them. And that was without Micah Parsons, so you would assume with him coming in, and that's why I wanted to shore up that secondary with Alontae Taylor because I do believe they still have a team that could compete for a Super Bowl.
Our staff has him 14th, going to the Rams with other suitors, Saints, Dolphins, and Titans. What do you think about
I like the Rams because they really struggled finding a number one corner on that team last year. Now, Quentin Lake is the guy that can play in the slot, but on the outside with Darius Williams and also a Keller Witherspoon, and then they had Emmanuel Forbes. They were like rotating guys in and out. So I think Alontae Taylor would provide some stability in that secondary as well.
All right, halfway through the NFC North, let's take a look at the last two teams, and we start with the Lions. Again, 1 seed a year ago. The last 2 years have just been decimated by injuries here. So where are you looking in terms of the priority list, dudes? Where are you going trying to plug up the biggest hole at least?
The training room?
Yeah,
no, I'm just playing. Like you said, they've really struggled with injuries, more specifically in that secondary over the last 2 years getting hurt. So you could go there, but a lot of those guys are under contract for the foreseeable future. The one thing that was different about that Lions team this past year was the offensive line. It wasn't as dominant as we were accustomed to seeing them. Taylor Decker over the last 2 years has dealt with some nagging injuries, and there's rumors that they could move off of him. So I got a little bit younger at left tackle with Rasheed Walker, the left tackle for the Green Bay Packers. And one thing I can tell you about him, Tommy, when it's time to play games, he's going to be there. 3 straight years and 17 straight games. That guy is the model of consistency. So he's a really good pass protector as well. I think he could provide some stability for the Detroit Lions, and they would make the Green Bay Packers weaker, taking them from the Green Bay Packers in the division to the Detroit Lions. So I have them getting a little bit younger at the left tackle position and really shoring up that O-line because Dan Campbell wants everything won in the trenches. They have to shore up that offensive line. Rasheed Walker makes a lot of sense.
And getting younger could help because there are some that believe and may even speculate that that championship window is closing for Detroit. What do you think about that?
That's the big question mark. I could have went edge guy as well because we talked about Montez Sweat earlier. The same could be said for Aiden Hutchinson, who came back from a pretty gruesome knee injury to have 14 and a half sacks. So it's good to see him bounce back, but he needs somebody opposite of him. And to your point, Tommy, people are saying, is this iteration of the Lions, has this window closed? I don't think it's closed yet, but I think there will be a revamp of sorts when it comes to the offensive line and then also getting Aiden Hutchinson some help. Anytime you have the Sun God and Jamison Williams and Gibbs, you still have a good trio to propel you to potentially win a Super Bowl.
Just to finish up on Walker, 7th out of 50 in our CBS staff top 50 here. Other suitors were Brown, Packers, and Rams, but I just also got to ask you because I'm sure you like to see late-round guys flourish here.
Oh,
when you
man.
see a 7th-round pick do the things he is and maybe on the precipice of being a top 10 free agent?
When you think about it, their 2 starting tackles, I think Zach Tom was either a 4th or 5th round pick, and then you got Rasheed Walker, a 7th round pick. And you know I love that Tommy as an undrafted free agent. A guy that's bided his time, right, that developed. And, again, 3 years starting at left tackle. And to me, that's the prized position on the offensive line when you're protecting the blind side of the quarterback. So for this guy to develop as a 7th-round pick, he deserves everything that's coming to him, and there will be a ton of Sooners because offensive linemen don't grow on a tree, Tommy, especially ones that can protect the blind side of a quarterback.
It's funny. I was about to say, did we save the best for last? My producer here said we did. I don't know if it's more of like a drama-filled thing.
TNT, we love drama.
Minnesota Vikings, who just had their GM let go, and they're going to extend that search later, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But priority-wise, for the Minnesota Vikings, what is the priority list according to Lee J. Douzable?
The quarterback position, and I have a name that's probably going to shock a lot of people, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Aaron Rodgers. And there was rumors last year going into the 25 season, this is where he wanted to be, Tommy. But they decided, the front office and also the coaching staff, that they were going to go with J.J. McCarthy because they put that draft capital in for him. And it hadn't really worked out this past year. We've heard Justin Jefferson come out and say, like, he's in support of J.J. McCarthy, but you could tell that he's also frustrated as well. And you can see it in the game tape as well. Why not take a flyer on Aaron Rodgers and talk him out of retirement for one more year? Because when you look at this roster, it's one of the best rosters in football, Tommy. The one thing they're missing is the quarterback position. You get Brian Flores to come back. They signed him to a $6 million deal as far as the defensive coordinator. So that means that defense is going to be intact. And then you have the weapons on the outside. We talked about having Justin Jefferson, a top 2 receiver in football. And Aaron Rodgers bounced back nicely for the Pittsburgh Steelers this past year. You seemed like he was a lot more healthier, was able to push the ball down the field. Now, you're not going to get the Aaron Rodgers that won back-to-back MVP, but with the talent they have on this roster, they don't need that Aaron Rodgers. They need somebody that can just steer the ship, get them in the right place, and get the ball to the playmakers. a.k.a. Justin Jefferson. So I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, here we go again with the Favre, and now we have Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I just think it makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to play and he still has it in his heart, to go to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of parallels, obviously Packers, Vikings, Favre, and Rodgers. But what does that mean for J.J. McCarthy? It's one thing to bring like a normal veteran in to either be insurance or maybe push you, but bringing Rodgers in is like really pushing like, hey, maybe you on the sidelines for one Aaron Rodgers here.
And I think it would maybe be good for him because you got to think his rookie year, he got hurt and he wasn't able to take actual reps. He was just in the classroom. So last year when he came in as a starter, he never really sat and learned behind a proven starter quarterback. Yes, Sam Darnold was there, but again, it wasn't like J.J. McCarthy was taking part in practice reps. And to me, you got to get those physical reps. So to me, being able to watch Aaron Rodgers throughout training camp, be able to watch Aaron Rodgers throughout the season could help him and benefit him. The last time a young quarterback sat behind Aaron Rodgers, it worked out. Wasn't too shabby, right?
Yeah,
Jordan Love. So it makes a lot of sense.
Dude's giving Rodgers another year. Our staff saying he should retire despite being the 8th-ranked free agent in this top 50 class that we have. Dude's great stuff here. Thanks for breaking down the priority list for 3 divisions in the NFL. Taking a look at the NFC North standings, I mentioned what Minnesota did. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah gone, let go of his duties, and they are going to wait until after the draft to then conduct their GM search.